So everybody, I have a treat for you today. I'm at a really neat operation here. This is Grant Eder, and he together with his wife Shelby have the Garden of Eder. And what it is a business they've started in their home, which I think is really cool because that's how I started Dan's Fish, in my home. Instead of focusing on fish, they're focusing mostly on shrimp. They do some plants and stuff. In the house, there's 500 aquariums, and then outdoors, they have like 60, 70 ponds, IBC totes, that kind of stuff, full of shrimp that they're breeding. So I think it's really cool when someone has a dream and utilizes the resources they have, like their house or their garage or their backyard, to start that dream, start a business, and get a foothold in something they really love. So I think Grant's done a great job at that. So I want to show you some of his stuff. We're going to start indoors and show you some really neat Caridina shrimp, a lot of which I'd never seen before. There's some really cool, rare, beautiful stuff in here. There's some wild type shrimps and snails from Lake Sulawesi, which are kind of near and dear to my heart. And then we're going to head outside and show them the whole Caridina operation. This is a big one. There's a lot to see. We're barely scratching the surface here, but buckle up because you're going to get an education just like I did. So hope you enjoy this. All right, so I know nothing about shrimp. All I know is these are super cool and pretty desirable. But Grant, tell us about these.
So these are the blue bolt Taiwan bees. They are a Caridina species. They need the softer water. They are a little bit more experienced care than a Caridina shrimp, but
what makes them that they need more experience? Is it just the water parameters and temperature?
Yeah, it's mainly just water parameters where they need the lower pH, and the only way to really achieve that is going to be with the aqua soil, a GH only mineral, and RO water. Everything else is pretty much the same care as Neo's. The feeding, the water change schedule, the filtration, everything like that, plant life, snails. You want no fish in the tank for optimal breeding and stuff like that. But the Caridina, they just need that nice, stable, low pH. Where in Caridina, they don't necessarily need a high or neutral pH. They just need a stable pH. That's really all they need to keep them happy. But these blue bolts have been around since I pretty much first got into the hobby. They're also like one of the shrimp that have held their price pretty true throughout the years. They were about $10 to $50 when I first got into the hobby, and that's still their price today. You can find them cheaper for like imports and stuff like that, but for homebred, high quality blue bolt shrimp that don't have a lot of white to them, you're gonna pay about 15 bucks.
Is that the goal with them, less white?
It's all preference and opinion. Some people like the nice solid blue head and a nice solid white body. And then majority though, like the extremes, which are head to toe blue all the way through. Now,
I think we've mentioned this before, but every shrimp that Grant sells here at the Garden of Eder, I was going to say Eden, the Garden of Eder, he's bred. He's not flipping imports. And I think that's awesome because I've imported shrimp and I know what they go through and how they arrive. So I'm thrilled that there's a place where people can get shrimp that are just raised at the source. I think that's awesome. Why have these held their price? Is it because it's hard to get the nice blue penetration in them?
I think it's more of the demand. The color blue is just more of somebody's favorite color. There's not an incredible amount of people out there that are breeding these, but when somebody first gets into the hobby and they want to get into the Caridina side of things, this is generally one of like the top 3 picks. You've got red crystal shrimp, you've got blue bolts, and you got the orange eye blue tigers. Those are the 3 highest in demand Caridina shrimp out there, and it's just pretty much because of the look, and they don't need any real crazy care. They breed pretty true as long as you get a pure line of them, and they're just really nice to look at. They pop in the aquarium.
Well, so that's cool. So I was imagining that they held their value because it's hard to get a line going, or because they throw a lot of colors that aren't blue or something. But what you're saying is they breed pretty true. It's just there's constant demand for them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, you'll get a lot of white ones or white coloration to them, and that's really the only culls that I have to deal with these. One in like 1,000. If we just drop down to the next tank, you'll get some Missoura where the crowns are the black heads. You can see the markings there.
Oh, the black dot on the back of the is that?
Yeah, some of them even have like even a whole crown that
Yeah.
goes all the way around, like almost like a stripe.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
these were selected bred from those blue bolts. Out of breeding a couple hundred of them, I got a few of them, threw them together, and that recessive gene will breed out easily. And you can see I still get some, like there's a solid blue bolt right in the middle of the pack there. So they won't all breed out as Misuras, but
a higher percentage.
they're almost all blue and white black shrimp.
So is this like a holy grail of the blue shrimp varieties and Caradinas?
I wouldn't say it's the holy grail, because now you have orange-eyed varieties of these. You have what we call a ocean blue. So we'll run over here to this tank.
Yeah.
So these are an ocean blue, also blue steel, crazy blue. The ocean blue is like this one right here. It's kind of vertical for us, so it's kind of hard to say. But what the ocean blue is, that deep, dark midsection, that's super dark blue, almost darker than all the other blue bolts that you saw in the other tank.
He's turning now.
So you see that coloration,
Oh,
that's where they named that.
That deep, dark blue, yeah.
Out in the greenhouse, I showed you ocean blue Neocaridina. That just drives me nuts. There's so many of the same names when these ones have already been on the hobby, already established, but because so many of the other sellers use that name, then you got people looking for that shrimp, you gotta follow suit.
Yeah.
So, but
common
to
names
me,
get
these,
real bad real
these
fast.
are the OGs. They're way more impressive. Even though the ocean blues are like the best line of blue neos out there now, these to me are still way nicer of a shrimp.
I'm gonna see. I don't have my macro lens. I don't know if getting this close will make them fuzz out or not, but if I can get them in focus this close, then you'll see it in the video. Because in person, these are looking awesome when I get that close. Are there any other blues that we should show while we're talking about them?
So I've also got, these guys are skunks, and they're called skunks for the back line. So
The
this
white
one's,
stripe
this
down
one's
the
a
back.
stunner. This one's exactly what I'm trying to breed out, because a lot of people like the shadow pandas. And then the black and blue coloration is what a shadow panda is, but then you throw that back line that runs across the top of it, and that's the skunk pattern. And I can develop red ones out of here also. I've got a tank of those in Jaden's room, but this is the main tank, and then I've got the backup tank right next to it. So not as many lines to them, but still they're a shadow panda phenotype, so it's still very sought out for. Shadow panda pure grade or pure colonies are worth about 15 bucks a piece, so I can sell these for 10 to those people that don't really care about pure genetics. They're not interested in breeding and selling, but they love that panda shadow panda look. I don't know how the galaxies are looking over here. They're a little blue on the head. We'll show those.
These are amazing. Like, I've never seen a shrimp with a white stripe down its back like that. I mean, I've seen golds with a gold stripe, but...
And I developed these from scratch. So if you take
this is your invention?
all of the tanks on this entire rack row right here, from here over, these two tanks, and then these two tanks here, and I've got probably 10 other tanks scattered throughout the house, started with the original cross of a shadow panda with a tangerine tiger.
So you developed these from a
Yes.
shadow panda with the tangerine tiger.
That's about 10 generations worth of work right there.
Yeah.
And then in this tank over here, I'm trying to make my own galaxy pintos from scratch.
And
And
how...
you can see little tiny babies where you
Yeah.
have the zebra stripes. And now in order for them to be like technically galaxy pintos, I need more than 9 spots.
Down the back?
No, on the head.
On the head? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know nothing about shrimp.
Down, once they go down like the sides of the body, that's when you get into snowflakes. I've got some snowflakes in here, but they're reds, and they're left over from one of the colonies that I got from a breeder in Miami that had to get it out of the hobby.
So why develop your own versus taking a line that's already there and starting with...
Because when I started that project, those shrimp were a couple hundreds of dollars a piece.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I know now that if I really want shrimp that are new in the hobby and I can't make them within a couple generations that I know for sure, I should probably just get them, because
the work.
10 generations of work could take 4 years, and then by the time those 4 years happen, that original shrimp that was $300 could be 20-30 bucks. So
yeah. All right, so what are these?
So these are Galaxy Pintos. Now, these do have more than 9 spots. The more spots, the more stripes, the more different colors on the shrimp, the more money they are. So this one, like down in front, it's kind of got like a little pinkish back to it, a blue head and a black body with white spots. That's 4 colors. 4 colors, more than 3 colors generally fetches, you know, extra dollar signs.
So lots of spots is good and lots of colors is good.
Yeah.
So these, what you're really going for is pattern, and then is the color kind of random, or how do you control for that?
I usually go for pattern first, and then a lot of the colors, like if you don't have a color, out of 30 babies, you might get one that develops that color. So you wait for another batch, and once you get 2 of them, then you can break those off and try and develop that color. But you kind of want the pattern to already be there, because it's a lot harder to develop pattern than it is color. So I get the pattern right, and then I go for different colors.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so that's like your canvas, and then you can paint color onto it.
Exactly.
All right. So up top here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are stunning. I know nothing about them. So what's the story on these guys?
So these are just like the black galaxies. They're only a red recessive gene. You can't get a lot of colors out of these. You can get a little bit of blue or pink or red on the back line, but other than that, you're not going to get too many colors. There are some reds that show a little purple to them, but that's even more rare. But the blacks, you have higher chances of getting metallics and purples and oranges and colorations like that. But red is kind of more sought out for in Asia. So these do kind of fetch a little bit more money, and they spend a little bit more time on like the quality of the spidering on the legs and the spots on the heads and stuff like that. So again, just the more dots, the more stripes, and the more like crisp and separated the stripes are from one another and straight and stuff like that, they'll fetch more money. So that's one of our tanks that we're trying to focus more on the spots. I haven't culled it in a while, so there's probably some like red steels or some solid white or red, like peachy colored looking ones.
Yeah,
in there.
I see one like that.
So that one needs to get out of there, and any of the ones that don't have a load of spots need to get out, but for the most part, those were producing pretty high quality babies.
Now, earlier we were talking about water parameters for Caridina versus Neocaridina. What happens in your experience if these aren't kept in the softer water that they like? So
for me, I see above 6.4 with the bee shrimp, not too much the tiger shrimp with tiger Caridinas, but with the bee shrimp, the baby survival rate severely goes down the higher the pH is over 6.4.
Okay, so it's a reproduction thing.
Yeah, so they have issues molting without the lower pH and 0 kH in the water, and if you can't molt, you're kind of stuck in your own skin. You can't grow, and you have issues, and you pretty much die in your own jacket. So,
have you seen that with the adults too, or is it mainly a baby thing? Because here in Florida, you have naturally hard alkaline water, right?
It's more of an issue when you're trying to breed and have babies. I just had a guy at the club meeting today say, "Hey, I bought some of the red crystals from you. I did nothing special for them. I threw them into one of my tanks. They're getting pregnant, but I'm never seeing any of the babies. What's going on?" I knew out of the first half of his sentence that it was because he didn't use RO water, GH only minerals, and aqua soil. It's just an aquarium with some gravel and tap water from Florida. So they'll live, but they won't thrive. They won't breed. There's people that have had success with them breeding in tap water and stuff like that, but generally speaking, it doesn't last very long. Something happens at the water treatment company. They can run out of water even and have to borrow water from the town over. So your tap water parameters aren't always going to be the same, not even throughout the year even.
So you can keep Caridina shrimp maybe in hard alkaline water, but if you want to breed, it's just not a good idea in your experience.
It's still risky. It's not 100% okay. Like, you're still going to have issues. They're not necessarily going to be able to molt, and it comes back to the whole shipping thing. The more stress that the shrimp go through and the more parameter shifts and whatnot, they're going to have more issues later on in life. So
yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Right?
Okay, so these next door, these look like a blue to purplish to me with bright orange eyes. What are these?
So these are orange-eyed blue tigers, and there's a bunch of different grades of these. They can go from blonde with just a few amount of blue stripes to deep, solid, dark blue. That's so blue it's almost black, and anything in between. The older, mature ones will get like this little bit of rusty color to them.
Okay, that's
and
what I'm seeing. I'm thinking of
the
as like
maroon and the purple coloration to them.
I see some like on the food right here, or some that are kind of, I guess, are rusty color. So those are just more mature.
Yeah, some of the babies can show that too, but in my experience, almost like 90% of the adults will get that rusty color if you're able to keep them long enough.
Okay, so this bright blue one over here, that's probably just a younger.
Yeah, depending on how big he is. You are on the top shelf with the ladder, so I can't see the exact shrimp that you have, but generally speaking, if it's like 2 centimeters or smaller, they won't show a lot of maroon or rust coloration to them. And then once they hit that 3 centimeter mark, it's just a few batches of babies before they start showing their maroon side. So the next tank over, these are hybridized orange-eyed blue tigers. They call them black devils because they're not pure in the genetics.
So hybridized in this case wouldn't mean 2 species, it would mean 2 strains.
Yeah, but
morphs?
they could be different subspecies. So there's Caridina marie is the actual orange-eyed blue tiger genus, but then there's Caridina serrata, and those are like more of the tangerine tigers, the auroras, but the yellow King Kongs are like a serrata base, they're tangerine tiger base. So these are most likely were orange-eyed blue tigers crossed with orange-eyed yellow King Kongs or a yellow King Kong to try and make orange-eyed yellow King Kongs, and they were just getting these solid deep dark blues, and we're like, well, you can't call them royal blue tigers or black tiger orange eyes, they're hybrids, so let's slap a fancy name on them, call them orange-eyed black devils, and let's sell them for more money. To me, they're nothing fancy. I have to keep them separated from the other shrimp because they have hybridized genetics into them, but they breed pretty true. I do every now and then get like a panda pattern out of them where the body will be like a lighter blue, and they call those a lapis. And I recently just learned that there's a flower called lapis, or a bird or something. No.
There's a stone.
It's a stone,
lapis.
yes.
Yeah,
and
like
Lady Diane showed it, and I was like, that looks like the shrimp, and that's where they came from. So,
like a blue.
Yeah, and there's like red calcios, and a lot of people will correct me online and be like, well, you spelled calico wrong, and I'm like, no, I'm not talking about cats, I'm talking about shrimp named off of after a flower. And if you pull up the red calcio flower and the red calcio shrimp, it does look very similar to the flower.
Okay.
And
move the ladder. Getting off kilter here. I'm too old to fall. So this one, I see like one deep red adult with orange eyes, and then several maybe juveniles that are kind of a yellowy color around it.
So the reds are the orange-eyed red devils, and the yellows are the orange-eyed yellow King Kongs. I didn't have a lot of the red devils, so a lot of like the stripier red culls were coming in, and they were crossbreeding them already with the orange-eyed yellow King Kongs. So I used that past info to try and cross some yellow King Kong lower grades with the red, so I can kind of get more. So I do believe there, I just looked at them like a week ago, and I did see some like juveniles that were like kind of showing some red stripes and still yellow. So they definitely crossed. So I definitely have something like in the middle of the road. So I wanted to see what they were going to look like. Maybe I can make like a yellow shrimp with red stripes on purpose and kind of solidify the striping a little bit nicer and make a shrimp that people will want.
Cool. Okay, so if we go to the next takeover, these are what?
Just pure orange-eyed yellow King Kongs. So I took like the culls from here and crossed it with the orange-eyed devils to get more.
So to get, they're all out feeding right now. To get good growth and production, how often do you feed?
So we feed every other day if we have the time and we're not traveling and stuff like that. If there's something going on and we have to feed every 3 days, and that's not a real big issue.
Because there's enough algae and biofilm.
And the biofilm. And as long as the lights are on timers and we have to travel for 2 weeks to 2 months, the shrimp are going to be just fine. I might lose one of the older adults or younger shrimp that are having issues molting, and the other shrimp will pick off the weak one and realize it as protein food and eat them. But for every shrimp that gets eaten, I'll probably still have 2 or 3 batches of babies. So
they'll still breed okay.
Yeah.
So really, if you have a mature tank with good surface area, biofilm and algae and stuff, you don't have to feed a ton.
Yeah.
So shrimp tanks don't create a lot of waste?
In my shrimp talk, I usually say about 60% of their diet should be biofilm.
Natural stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Huh. Well, that makes them pretty easy, because I mean, just the water quality stays high if you're not constantly putting
right. So
artificial food.
It's very easy to have low to zero nits. Very easy to have zero ammonia in a shrimp tank, and the bio load from shrimp is very, very low in the first place. So that's why I have very, very low issues with algae.
Yeah.
So
cool. All right. What are these ones besides beautiful?
So this is one of my crossbreeding projects. I cross orange-eyed blue tigers with a already crossed shrimp, which was Aurora blue tigers crossed with tangerine tigers. So my goal in this tank is to make an orange-eyed green shrimp. The problem with green and Caridina is it flip-flops. Actually, none of them look green at this time, but I've got videos where there are shrimp from this tank, and there are shrimp, or a couple of them running across, and they're every single bit of green that you would want the shrimp to be. But the problem is there are very few occasions where they're actually that green. Most of the time they're orange or yellowish in color, and that's why I never really sell any of my green tigers as green tigers. I always sell them as culls, because most of the time they're going to look like culls, but on occasion they're going to look like a green tiger, and that's how I can still kind of have their name, because they're not just a hybridized tangerine tiger. There is a purpose.
Do you have any green ones we could see to compare?
Maybe we'll see throughout the house.
Okay.
But yeah, they're very, very finicky.
Is that one of the hardest colors?
Yeah, green's my favorite color, and it's been my main goal to breed out a green Caridina shrimp throughout the entire time.
So this is like a master breeder project.
Yeah.
It's like it's hard to get good greens.
It's something somebody else is trying to achieve in Asia, the same thing somebody's trying to achieve in Europe, and we're all trying to be the first.
Mm-hmm. Cool. That sounds fun.
And then this is our main breeding tank of tangerine tigers. So that's where the original cross came from, and you can see there's not a lot of work to be done on these guys. They're gonna look that deep, vibrant orange every single day of the week. They don't flip-flop. But when you throw the blue in, the blue isn't that stable. The orange is just so powerful. So the orange seems to just shine through. If you cross these guys with other shrimp, almost all the babies come out orange for a couple generations.
So orange is a really dominant color.
Yes, it is.
So what is the dominant color besides, the wild, the brown? Is it red, blue, orange?
So tangerine tigers are it. Anything I cross with tangerine tigers will come back out looking like a tangerine tiger off of F1, F2. Even yellow King Kongs are such a tangerine tiger base. Anything you cross with those comes out with the orange tangerine tigers, and it takes several generations to get the orange to stop popping out.
So that's the dominant one.
So then you come back down here, though. We have my oldest cull tank. This is mainly all tangerine tigers, and what I do is when people buy tang tie off of me, I'm sorry, I meant to say this is the main tang tie cull tank. I said tangerine tigers because they are a tangerine tiger base. However, most of the shrimp, Galaxy Pintos, the skunks, a lot of Nanashi and Nancy, a lot of the newer varieties have the Serrata tangerine tiger gene in them because it's such a dominant trait. They're so hardy, they breed so much faster, they grow quicker, so it's a good base to use when you're first starting to cross shrimp. So this was one of my oldest tanks. When people buy tang tie, I do include like a couple reds here and there, but the majority of them, I'll come through here, I'll try to call out all the oranges that I possibly can. You can see some oranges and some browns that are still in there, but the red ones are pretty nice, and there's some reds in there that look like almost like red cherry shrimp. So one day I'd like a red cherry shrimp Caridina tank.
So if I bought culls from you, they could come from this tank?
Mostly all my tang tie will come from this tank right here.
Wow, that's beautiful. Like, I would be so happy to have any of these shrimp. I know nothing about shrimp, but just looking at the colors and how pretty this is, like, and I imagine Cole's come at a steep discount as well.
Yeah, well, the tang tie themselves wouldn't be listed as a cull because it's like a specific type of shrimp already.
Oh, okay. So these are all tang tie.
Yeah, but it
They're
is my
just
cull
different
tank
colors.
of all my other tang tie projects
Got it,
because
got it.
a red steel, a galaxy pinto, those are all technically tang tie also.
I see what you're saying. So these are tang tie, but not of any specific colors.
Yeah,
So
right.
you get all tang tie, but you get a Skittles mix of
Yeah.
them. Yeah. Still, I mean, these are gorgeous.
And then you wanted to show off this tank. There is a lot of shrimp in here.
So I thought this would look great on video, and I was very excited about these because I think these look absolutely stunning. And then Grant's like, "Yeah, those are my calls," and I was like, "Wait, what? Those are calls? They look awesome."
It's not the first time I've had this conversation either with this exact tank, but yeah, so these were supposed to be Galaxy Pintos, but I get a lot of Tybes with like wannabe spot head pinto patterns to them. A very few amount of tang tie came out of these. I got them off of a breeder who was focusing on orange-eyed projects, and then this was kind of like, I don't care about these anymore, throw me a price. And I got these with the Hummel shrimp that I have, and they're like one of my favorite shrimp today. So I'm happy I got these, but there really isn't anything worth pulling out of these guys to make any projects, except for like these wannabe spot head pinto Tybes. There's a couple people that ask for them every now and then.
So funny because to me, who knows nothing, I looked at this and this was one of the most impressive tanks to me, just because it's so beautiful. So if you're like, I just want pretty shrimp, and I want the ones that look great. I'm probably not gonna breed for anything. I just want something that looks awesome. Is this what you would get, or is this still a specialized enough thing?
So these would be a great beginner shrimp. If you wanted to get into the hobby and want to get into Caridina and you're worried about water parameters, these are a great one, because if you do look closely, there are a couple of them, like this one right here, the black and white with a little blue pattern. That is still a Tai B. It's got the double pigment. It is a shadow hybrid. And if you're getting those out of the babies of the Tybes, then you're doing everything pretty much perfect, because the Tybes have a little bit of tiger influence in them, so they can withstand slightly harder pH, higher pH, and pH swings and stuff like that, where the bee shrimp, the Tai bees, the Taiwan bees, those need very stable low pH.
Okay.
So if your tank is achieving that and you get those babies, then you know, hey, I can spend $40-50 and get the Galaxy Pinto that I want of my dreams and start a tank up of it, mimic the exact habitat that you have already going, and they should do fine in that one too.
Cool. Speaking of tigers, should we look at some of those next?
Yeah. Well, while we're here, have you ever seen red moss?
No. That's
So it's-
moss?
So it's technically an algae, but it's,
That's what I was gonna say. Is like, that looks like an algae.
but it's like the only freshwater macroalgae that the hobby actually
What's
cares
it called?
about. Man, Shelby will have to send you the Latin name. I'm not one for Latin terminology at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, it starts with a C. I can tell you that much. But it's not an easy plant to grow, and since it is an algae, you're always fighting like other algae. So
Right.
I'm always in a constant battle of trying to do a lot of water changes to kill off the hair algae, and that is hair algae. But I don't want to kill off the red algae too, so it's a hard one to get perfect.
You can't put any chemicals in there or anything that eats
Any
algae.
algicide. Yeah, I've never hit that tank with any razor because I'm worried I'll lose all of it.
Yeah.
And when it dies off, it turns like a fluorescent orange.
All right, so tigers?
So these are like my creme de la creme of my orange-eyed blue tigers. When you get so high grade, deep dark blue, I'm trying not to hit black, but I'm trying to get that like real royal fluorescent blue, almost like the color of the walls that we have here in the bedroom. But these are where I grow out my competition shrimp. So there's only a very few, like only 5 shrimp in that tank. So they have maximum room to grow out. They can get the full size. They're not stressing one another out. They've got plenty of food. But that is pretty much the highest end of my orange-eyed blue tigers right there.
That's so cool. So they're so dark blue that the stripes aren't
Right.
hardly visible. They're so blue.
Exactly.
And the eyes just pop. So, what if you were to show? What are the judges looking for on something like this?
Size matters. So you definitely want the biggest, deepest, darkest coloration that you can. You want 5 twins basically that all look identical. And then you want the color to be the best. You want the pattern to be the best. You want leg color, and then health.
So if you can get 5 together that are that consistent,
And they judge
then
the best
they're
3.
like,
So if you enter 5, you've kind of got a buffering, and they don't allow any more than 5.
okay. Dude, these are stunning.
So since we're talking about tigers, not to be confused with the pure lines of tigers like the Caridina Marie, the Caridina serrata, these are fancy tigers. And they're fancy because they're hybridized. They've been crossed with a bee shrimp. They're technically a Thai bee, but when the coloration is so solid, there's no translucent gaps, that's when you can call them fancy. You get the tiger stripes on them. The more dots, the more stripes, the more money, just like the Galaxy Pintos. And the more solid and like less translucent gaps, the more money as well.
So this is like when we take Endler's Livebearers and cross them with guppies to get the influence. And
Yes.
is that kind of what this is
Yeah,
like? That
very,
kind of,
very similar. And then right next door, we've got the black variety of them as well. So they're not a true tiger, so they should be kept in the lower pH. Caridina Marie, Caridina serrata, those can both be kept in like Neocaridina parameters almost, where they have too much bee influence. They need the lower pH.
How do you find it's easiest to maintain that? Just by originally using RO and using
RO
soft-
water, the aqua soil. That is the most efficient, easiest way to do it. You can do it with acids. You can do it with
Oh, that sounds like a nightmare. Like things
peat
would
moss,
go up
and
and down.
it's a mess, and it's constant monitoring. It's not very efficient if you're having to test your tanks every day.
So if you have the soft water, then this aqua soil will take care of the rest
Yes, for
you.
many years.
So that's why people are willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
I've always wondered.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of money on aqua soil before I started working for it, right? And now I've got plenty of bags, and I'm thinking about, hey, these tanks, they've been running for so long, maybe the shrimp would do better if I just swap them
Freshen
out.
it up a little bit. Yeah.
It's probably worth the cost of swapping some of them out now.
Is there any telltale signs when it's like, ooh, this, or do you just measure parameters? Or do the shrimp tell you?
The shrimp will stop breeding.
No.
They'll very much slow down. You'll have just a bunch of big adult shrimp, no juveniles or babies growing up behind them. So like a couple of these tanks, this tank here, I've got this tank here, that tank there, that's probably a really ancient old female. And I'm not really expecting any breeding out of this tank anymore.
So this is one where you're like, it probably needs to be freshened because
yeah,
I'm not getting production.
I've already got planned to come into the room and redo a couple of these tanks. Some of these tanks came all the way from the bedroom before Shelby built up her fish room. So we originally had a leak come up from underneath the floor in this room when we were at the Triple Crown. I came home to hot water in the floor.
Oh, joy.
And so we had to totally gut the room. All the tanks from this room went into the living room, and I built that rack for it. And then when I built this rack, I moved all the tanks out of the bedroom so we could get those out of there. So we played a lot of musical tanks. So some of these are pretty old. Some of them are brand new though, because we didn't have this many tanks in here.
Well, at least you got good Java moss production.
Yeah, well, lots of moss. I'm drowning in moss.
Dude, the eyes on these are the brightest orange eyes I've seen. Like, look at those glow.
Yeah, these are pretty much the biggest fan favorite here at the house. Most of the people that come over, this is their favorite tank. Just like the Royal Blue Tigers with the orange eyes, these are a hybrid with the Blue Bolts that we talked about earlier too. So it is a orange eye blue steel. Orange eye blue devil is another name for them, but it's just a hybridized blue bolt with orange eyes. And yeah, you want the deeper, darker coloration to the eyes, or like you asked me earlier, about the white coloration. There are people that like the white and blue heads, so I have a tank for each of them that I try to go in separate directions. I apologize that some of the glass isn't ideal for all of you guys, but the baby has taken up more of my time, and we had a spontaneous trip to Colorado, and it took us an extra day to get home, and I was planning on running through and getting some of the really nice tanks cleaned up for you, and I didn't get to it.
I think we can still see them. Dude, is this a bee/tiger hybrid too, or
So
did I just insult you accidentally? This is a beautiful shrimp.
It's a Galaxy Pinto, and it is a hybrid between a bee shrimp and a tiger shrimp, and it's just like one of the more end game shrimp to try and breed towards. It's a lower grade one, but yeah,
maybe it's just because she's so big and beautiful and right out front against that moss. But
that's one of the tanks where I need to tear down. It's so old that the pH isn't really buffering, and the tank is just littered with blackbeard algae.
Oh yeah.
So when you have the aqua soil for that long and you can't vacuum the gravel up, you're just gonna get that kind of buildup. So when I do my water changes in this room, that is the last tank that I do, because I don't want to
spread it.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that looks really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great until you get up close, and then you're like, I don't want any of that in any of my other tanks. So that's why there's so much moss in that tank. I can't sell it.
Yeah.
Because there's algae in it. So these are some Taiwan bees. These are the pure ones. Unlike the skunks, these won't ever produce any backline to them or anything like that at all. It's very hard to find pure lines of Taiwan bees, because in the beginning of the hobby, a lot of breeders, when these, kind of started to fade out with the pintos, they were trying to use all of their females that they had of Taiwan bees with their pintos to get more pintos. And then they just started using the culls as Taiwan bees and sold them, and a lot of people got their colonies mixed up, and you can tell by breeding out the babies if they're a pure line or not. So I know these guys are pure, but when I bought a colony, and then when I breed these guys out, there's telltale signs. Like this one has zebra stripes to it. Some of them have more like
I see. So
pinto
it's
marking.
in the pattern then.
Yeah. So if I ever get like a pure line off of somebody, I usually breed them out for a generation or two, and the baby phenotypes will pretty much talk to me and tell me whether or not this shrimp is a pure line or if it's been crossed. Like a lot of pure tigers, some people will try to sell super tigers, and you can tell by like the stripes and the eye color that they've been crossed with orange-eyed blue tigers, or if tangerine tigers have been crossed, they'll have more stripings or deeper, darker bars, or they'll have red stripes when they shouldn't have those colors to them at all.
Yeah. Oh, these are still pretty. It's like a very faint blue with a dark blue saddles and stuff.
I've got so many of them because I don't know how to sell them. I haven't figured out like a way to market those so that way it doesn't make the people that are stiflers for genetics mad, but like there's still those people out there that don't care about breeding, don't care about genetics, and they just want that color. The problem is they're probably going to call them what they think they are, and then they might give them to somebody else and pass down the line, and they might ruin it. So
Sure.
I've kind of just been hoarding all of my tainted genetic Taiwan bees and stuff.
Just call them the Grant line, and we'll know.
No, I don't want the dirty line to be my line.
I don't want to be known for the dirty line.
Yeah. So these are a pure black line crystal shrimp. I did get these from a guy who said that they were getting blue faces, so I've been trying to work on these ones. It's kind of hard to see without a macro lens, but a lot of these will have a little bit of blue coloration to them.
And
so
you want that, or you don't want that?
I do want that because it's
so you're going to breed it with a bright blue.
Yeah, I'm going to try and get blue crystals eventually. Like every April Fool's, there's always like some weird shrimp Photoshop photos that go around, and every now and then it's some blue crystal shrimp. And it's a big April Fool's joke, but I do think one day it's possible to get something close to that. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Is that most of the draw to shrimp for you? The ability to like make different forms, make your own strains?
Yeah, I think that comes with like my heritage and my ancestors. We're all sailors trying to explore and discover new land, and there's not really any new land to discover anymore, and I don't have enough money and whatnot to go to the Congo and venture out and the knowledge to go do that yet. So I'm gonna have to just do what I can. And for me, it's developing new lines of shrimp. And I've only done a very, very small tip to the iceberg on what I want to accomplish.
It seems like it will never end. There's so many colors and patterns and variations.
And I've had discussions with a couple of the old timers that got out of the hobby, and they're like, it's just not that cool anymore. There's not that many species coming out. And I'm like, there is. Like, have you seen these? Have you seen those? Are they in the States yet? No, because they're new. Like, it takes time to develop. And, you know, the longer it goes on, the harder it is to gonna be able to make something new. So that's why I'm trying to cross every single different line of shrimp that I have with a different line of shrimp, that hopefully somebody else isn't working on that same thing down the line.
What are, I mean, I don't know what these are, but these are awesome.
These are a German pinto. It's a spot head pinto. I've got some red steels running around in there that you'll get just like with the red galaxies, but these don't have the serrata gene in them. They are only Caridina Marie crossed with Taiwan bees to get that pattern.
And for these, you're going for a white back half with
white. Yep, as nice bright white as I can,
with contrast with this
nice deep dark solid head with as many spots. But I think the maximum amount of spots that you can get with these guys is 9. So in a competition, if you've got 5 shrimp with 9 nice solid same matching spots, then you've got an award-winning shrimp group.
So what you're saying is, like, genetically they just don't come with more than 9 spots, or you're saying if you get more than 9 spots they won't do well in the show?
No. Genetically they shouldn't get more than 9 with the Caridina Marie. That's what makes them a German pinto compared to a Galaxy pinto, where the Galaxies have more than 9 spots.
Okay, got it. So that's another indication that the line is good.
Yeah. And since you like these, we've got some black and blue ones over here.
Oh yeah. So these are similar to those others, but they're a blue form?
So these are the black, white, and blue ones. These are just a German pinto. Like the other ones will throw the red steels. These ones will throw blue steels. And a steel is just a hybridized blue bolt or red bolt, right? So they're not pure. You don't want to throw these in with your Taiwan bees, or else you'll end up getting the funky patterns like you do with the other ones that I showed. I don't know what to do with, right? But these are a very sought after shrimp. Again, up to 9 spots. Some people say it's more desirable to have black and white with no blue, and then others are looking for the deepest, darkest blue possible.
Well, whatever they are. I mean, to me, the guy that doesn't know the details, I'm just like, every shrimp I see here, I'm just like, that's gorgeous. That's gorgeous. That's gorgeous. That's the extent of what I know about shrimp.
I don't know how much I know. I don't know how I know so much about shrimp. And if you were to go tell like any of my science teachers, except for
they'd be like,
my
no
marine
way.
Biologist teacher, they'd be like, not that guy.
Yeah. Well, people, once someone finds something they're passionate about, it's not work anymore.
Yeah.
It's just, this is my life. This is fun. This is what I want to do.
I can't tell you what I ate for breakfast, but I could tell you where those shrimp came from.
Yeah.
You know?
So I'm a guy that loves the shrimp and snails and fish from the Sulawesi lakes, or however you say it properly. And I see here some snails and shrimp from that area. So tell us about these. I love how the little shrimp are on top of the snail.
So these are the Black Galaxy Sulawesi shrimp, not to be confused with the other Black Galaxies that we were talking about earlier. It's just how it is, so that's what you got to call them. And then there's some orange rabbit snails in the tank, and they just kind of do their thing in a little 10-gallon tank with some crushed argonite and crushed coral mixed up, a little bit of limestone, and we use RO water, salty shrimp 8.5 to get the water just right. And these are the only tanks in the house that stay heated, so we keep these 80 to 84 degree temperatures.
Yeah, so when we think of Caridina shrimp, we think of soft water, cool temperatures, right? But when we're talking about the ones from Sulawesi, they're Caridina shrimp, unless the name's changed. They're from the genus Caridina, right?
They're still a Caridina, but like I think that Caridina species could be broken off into a lot of different subfamilies, and I don't think these are possible to be crossed with the other Caridina species.
Some scientist is going to make a career out of naming all these differently in the future, but what we want people to know is that just because they're Caridinas doesn't necessarily mean they need soft, cool, acidic water. The ones from Sulawesi want hard, alkaline, warmer water. You're keeping yours in 80 to 84. I keep mine at 79, which is probably the lower end of what you'd want to do.
I try to keep them in 76 to room temperature, and it just, they kind of just dwindled away and didn't really do any well. This is the secondary tank. The original tank is right here, so you can see a lot more shrimp.
Yeah.
They are more of a shy shrimp, so there's a lot more shrimp in the tank than what comes out to eat. A lot of them will be hiding up behind and underneath the rocks and the sponge filters. But what I do find is there is a great relationship with the snails, and they use them as kind of an alert system. If the snails are roaming and their antennae are out and free, then there can't be any big predators around if the snails are out. So I find that they're a lot more sociable and less shy when you have the snails in there with them.
So snails are like their dither fish.
Yeah.
They're dither snails.
Yeah.
Huh, that's interesting. And have you found that they do that with other snails, or is it just rabbit snails, or do you know?
I haven't really tested. I've just kind of kept Sulawesi snails with the Sulawesi shrimp, and as soon as I added the snails, I noticed that the shrimp are coming out a lot more.
Do you happen to know the species name on these?
Of the shrimp or snail? I don't know either, so I don't know why I even asked that. I'm not a species name kind of guy.
Right. I was just curious, because I know that these wild Sulawesi shrimp, a lot of them have been identified.
Yeah.
But
I know these ones do. I don't know it off the top of my head.
Yeah, no worries.
Over here we have the ghost shrimp of the Sulawesi genus. These are the Malala. So most of them are dull in color, but there is a blue one kind of right there. There's a grayish blue one here down in front, but pretty much what you see right here is all the variations. There's not much more to do with these guys, and they don't breed very true. There's just a mixed mosh posh of those colorations in there.
Yeah, and that's how they are in the wild.
Yeah, for the Malala shrimp, there's not much to these guys, and they're not in high demand. They don't hold the price like the other Sulawesi shrimp do, and they're the easiest one to keep too.
Well, your original Caridina shrimp, from which all the cherries and yellows and all blues and all that stuff were derived, was pretty dull too back in the day, right?
Yeah, but I think that these, compared to the other Sulawesi shrimp that just look incredible.
Right, absolutely. But what I'm getting at is, with enough work, I bet.
Yeah, I think Alex is working on something like that also. But you can tell the original rabbit snails that we got from the importer, and then the ones that we've been growing up and raising on some of. We use Grant's calcium chips from Crayfish Empire. Sounds like I'm talking about myself, but there's another Grant.
A different Grant.
Yes.
Rabbit snails are awesome, and if I remember right, they're live bearing. They only produce one baby at a time or something?
Yeah, so at first I thought it was about one baby every 30 days, and I think if you do research, that's what you find. But definitely am getting more than one baby a month, because what we did and tested them outside with just 3 in each pond, and then I was catching quite a few out of them by the end of the year. I think it added up to maybe one baby every 20 days or so.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe 14 to 20 days.
So, not a hugely prolific snail, but
no. And maybe size has something to do with it. Maybe some of the bigger ones can produce them faster too. I'm not sure.
What I like about them is they remind me of a creature out of Star Wars. How they kind of shuffle across the substrate. They'll reach out and then pull themselves, and reach out and pull themselves.
Yeah.
And I always imagine an alien humanoid on the top of the shell. They're riding that thing in a Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
That's
and
what they look
it's
like
almost
to me.
like their antenna have their own mind of its own. This one is searching and feeling things, and something will bump it and it'll kind of shrink back like a worm does, and it very much mimics a worm of its own down to a T.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of one of the alert systems that the shrimp kind of are using, that if the rabbit snails are using their antenna to kind of move around and feel out where everything is, then it's safe to move about.
Yeah. Okay, so this is unlike any we've seen before. The pattern's very different. What is this?
So I mentioned these earlier when we were talking about the cull tank, and I got the shrimp with some hummels. These are the hummels. It's a wild type shrimp. I can't find a lot of info about them. I haven't been able to cross them with anything, but they're kind of purplish blue with like white stripes. Some of them even have like a white arrow on top of them. I call them Avatar, the Ang shrimp. So I'll probably focus more on like a tank with the arrows and a tank without them, and kind of line breed them out that way. But they're a really cool looking shrimp, but they also have like a little bit of personality. They'll kind of grab the food and run off with it. Not as like aggressive as a mono shrimp or tigers and stardust, but they've got a little bit more attitude than your average bee shrimp, right? Some of them will almost be like white and blue, like a blue crystal shrimp you would think would be in the wild, but they're just a totally different type of shrimp, and there's not anybody else in the United States with them. So all of the weight is on my shoulders to keep these going. I've got a couple of people that have even pre-ordered them and are waiting for them, but I've got to get 2 tanks of them going. Well, tank number 2 is right here.
Yeah.
And I found babies in it earlier this morning.
Is that your first babies?
Out of this tank, yeah. So there's like an old tank tie running around.
I see some right back there.
That's a tank tie running around.
Oh,
So
okay.
you got to find like a white stripe one. There's probably not too many. I don't think they have nearly as many babies as like the normal Caridina shrimp. There actually is a baby right here, and there's another one right there with a back line. See him coming out?
I see him right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's see.
I now successfully
know.
have 2 tanks of Hummel shrimp going. My
That's
whole
pretty
thing
cool.
is 3 tanks. So I'll break these off into another tank. I'll get 3 tanks, and then
There
I
he
can
is.
start selling.
Okay, I don't know if the camera can pick these up. They're so small, but he's right there under that moss right there.
And one of my goals for 2024 was to get these guys breeding and ramped up, because I'd get some babies every year, but then I'd lose some adults, and then I'd try to split them off into another tank, and I didn't have any success. So what I did was these 2 tanks right here, I am assuming that they were the same soil, set up around the same time. They have almost identical parameters. So I just jumped ship from one tank to another. I took all the tank tie out of this tank, and I've already got a 40-gallon breeder, so I don't need much more. And yeah, they've done really well. So I'll probably pick out another one of these tanks down the line to do my 3rd tank, so that way the parameters are as close as possible and I can keep them going.
That's
I would
cool.
really like a tank of these going in Jaden's room, because it's got the AC unit. If we ever lose power or something, I have a backup colony of these in there. So
Yeah.
that's probably where the 3rd tank's actually going to go.
So this is really cool. New wild shrimp.
They've been
project.
around forever. It's just they're not that popular because it's a wild type shrimp, and Asia doesn't really care about them, so they don't think anybody else is going to care about them. But I mean, purple is such a sought out for color.
So they're not exported often, is the point. Yeah.
I've only found one other person that has them in Poland available for sale, and besides that, I can't find any information on them online at all.
Well, seem to be doing great in here, man.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. What's this one?
So these are my own line of tie bees that I'm trying to develop into fancy tigers. So most of the fancy tiger lines out there, people cheated and they took a shortcut and used Taiwan bee genetics to get that thicker, deeper shell. So I'm trying to do it the right way, so they don't have any tie bee babies come out of it, and it will be what I would consider the true standard for fancy tigers. So this one going up the glass over there on the side, that one looks great. I just need to get all the gaps filled in so there's no translucent spaces and more deeper, darker white and red coloration to them.
So is your average, you're doing this for a living, is your average customer the kind of person that wants that really high end and understands the value of that work and stuff, or is the average customer just someone that's just like, I just want some pretty shrimp?
The average customer just wants the Neocaridina Then like the next level up is the tiger shrimp, and there's even less of those, right? And then after that, you've got crystal shrimp and Taiwan bees. And then after that, that's when you get into the higher end grade. The prices of the shrimp might be up there more, but that also deters buyers even more. So the market for the higher end shrimp, it's not that, it's very few and far between. So that's why I get more pride in developing my own line and raising them up for myself. So this is more like a project tank for myself. It's taking up space, but I get the most enjoyment out of these projects.
So Neocaridina, is that most of the sales?
Yeah, I
and
would
then the
say,
Caridina are a passion project.
yeah, we do get a lot of tiger projects though, or I mean tiger sales, just because you can keep Neocaridina and tigers in the same tank and they can't crossbreed.
Right.
So we'll get a lot of return customers that can only have one aquarium that'll do Neos, then tigers, and then you can even do raccoons on top of that, or stardust on top of that, and none of those can crossbreed with one another. So you can have a nice little mosh pit tank.
Cool. Yeah. All right.
And then right next to them, these are some more orange eye blue tigers, but they're just such a nice shrimp. And
Dude,
these
the
ones
eyes are
came out.
amazing. They just, whoa.
And you can see like this is a lower grade one here
Because it's got a little pattern.
because it's translucent.
A little clear.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So how long does it take to really get a line stable? What's considered a stable line, first of all? How many have to breed true before it's stable? Or is there any real like percentage, or is it just kind of like, yeah, it feels like most of them are
Stable is kind of like a loose term because stable kind of depends on the shrimp. So the variety of shrimp, right? So stable for Galaxy Pintos, you might get out of 30 babies, 20 of them will be Galaxy Pintos, but then you'll get different grades, right? High to low. And then 10 of those babies will come out like blue steels or red steels that aren't considered Galaxy Pintos at all, right? So that would be a pretty stable Galaxy line, but that would be a really unstable Yellow King Kong line. Like Yellow King Kongs, almost all of them are going to come out yellow. You can get a really variety or something like that, but you're not going to get any other colors that come out of Yellow King Kongs.
Okay, so some lines are considered stable when a lower percentage breeds true, just because they're so difficult to get to breed true.
A lot of the higher priced shrimp, they're higher priced because of the amount of culls. So a stable boa colony might only produce 5 babies out of a whole clutch that are going to have boa traits. And then we also use pure lines. So you have pure red line shrimp, pure black line shrimp. Let's talk about the pure black lines while we look at the pure black lines. So these are pure black line crystal shrimp. These will only throw black and white crystals.
Yeah.
You have lines that throw reds, blacks, and solid whites. Those are just normal crystal shrimp. So if you buy red crystals and they're not a pure line, when you breed them out, you might get a black one, you might get a solid white one. But if you buy a pure line, 100% of the babies will come out looking like the adults one way or another. You'll have different varieties of stripes and dots and stuff like that, but they're all going to be black and white color.
So that's why they're higher priced.
Yeah. So you can have pure lines of Taiwan bees and bees, but all the pintos and everything else that's a hybrid, you're not really going to get pure lines of those. Yellow King Kongs, they're such a dominant trait that you can get those to of course breed out true, and there's a few others, but they're few and far between.
Cool. Are these is this a wild tiger type?
Yep.
Cool, what are they?
So these are super tigers. So they have a little bit of yellow coloration on the nose and then like bluish and purple stripes for the body. They are a wild type tiger and they should look just like this. So when I was talking earlier, you can kind of tell if they're a pure line because looking at the stripes, they should look like that. Where we looked at these orange eye blue tigers, the striping pattern is a little bit different.
Yeah.
And when you cross them, you kind of get more of the orange eye blue tiger stripes that show out. And then every now and then some of the babies, they have that recessive gene for the orange eyed genetics. So you'll get some orange eyes. And if anybody says, oh yeah, I got orange eyed super tigers every now and then come out of it, you know it's a crossbreed and it's not a pure line. So these guys are super hardy, just like tangerine tigers. For a while, I kept overselling them, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make it another goal of mine to get these to produce. And what I found the trick for these guys and the Hummel Tigers is a little bit of food every day. The rest of the
give them a little
tanks,
more.
the rest of the tanks get food every other day or every 3 days. These guys, and it's a lot easier for me to accomplish that because they're in the center of my house. So there's this food right here. I'll see these guys throughout some part of the day, and I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna throw a little bit of food in there real quick. And I found that boosted up their breeding. Now you don't have to do that the entire year 365, but you know, if you're feeding 20 days straight out of the month and then every other day for the rest of the month, they're still going to produce, you know, a good amount of babies, because we do travel and we go out of state like about once a month on average. So they go a couple days without feeding every time we leave the house. Nobody feeds the shrimp. I've got somebody that comes over, watches the house, he feeds the dogs, makes sure there's no leaks on the floor or anything like that, but none of the shrimp, none of the fish get fed when we leave.
So with these, more food than your average Caridina shrimp.
I wouldn't say more food, because I'm feeding half the amount of food.
Oh, more often.
Yes, just more readily available food.
Cool.
I know where.
Quick question on
Yeah.
this. So can these be kept in the same parameters as Neocaridinas?
Yep, as long as the water temperatures don't get too hot.
So they can't take the temperature as high as like cherry shrimp.
And they can. The problem is the red cherries are almost never going to have any issues with fungal and bacterial infections when it gets warm.
And
these guys, the risk gets higher, the temperature goes higher.
So what would you say is the top temperature you keep them at if you, not their top tolerance, but for long term, with you don't have to worry about that stuff as much?
70 to 72 is ideal.
Okay.
There's some people that, you know, their environments won't allow for anything lower than 74, and the highest is 76, and that's about the highest range I would go, 74 to 76. So when I was in Layla's room and I talked about like the 10 tanks in a row that were all the same Shadow Panda with Tangerine Tiger cross, these are that same line. And this is the tank where I'm trying to make several different colors. So you'll see golds, purples, light blues, dark blues, white, black, and in some cases I'll have 5 of those colors on one shrimp in this tank. So the more colors, the better. I'll also pull my greens out of this tank too. So this is just like one of the coolest combinations of phenotypes that I get out of just two shrimp crossed.
So this is exciting because this colony, and they'll throw all kinds of different stuff.
Now this is 16 generations worth of work.
That's all?
Yeah.
That's, jeez. Yeah. It's impressive though. For me, what struck me is a large number of them have like, dark color on the front half of the body, and they're white on the back half. And I just thought that was really cool.
And that's dating back to like the blue bolt genetics that come with the Taiwan bees, the blue bolts and the shadow pandas, they're just kind of built that way.
Cool. All right, so these are different than anything we've seen today.
So these are wild type serrata shrimp, but unlike the tangerine tigers and aurora blue tigers, these are like a little iridescent kind of shimmer to them. So they're real cool, and I love to use these to crossbreed with other shrimp. Crossing them with red steels, I got the most different varieties of phenotypes I've ever gotten from any other cross of shrimp. So there's definitely a lot of hues to these guys, and I think that some of the crazier pinto lines in the future that are going to come out are going to be started off with this base rather than the tangerine tigers like in the past.
So it's just another, like, if you think of developing the shrimp as a painting, this is like just another base from which you can develop a whole range of colors and patterns. Yeah,
but these guys are more wild type to where it's like certain mollies for us or fungulus. Like I have some ponds where they're super green, and other ponds where they're more deeper, darker orange, and some ponds are more red. And you've got aurora blue tigers that could be red also. You've got tangerine tigers And these are just a different variety of the Serrata tiger that just probably grew up in a different locale, and their color allowed them to adapt and be less prey for the fish. That I always say that American fish have like the best eyesight, because all the cool colorful shrimp are in Asia, and you know, they just must have really crummy eyesight or different spectrums that they can see, because all the cool shrimp are over there.
Okay, now we're outside of the greenhouse, where we've got all these IBC totes. These are all Neocaridina, right?
Yep, I got another 20 tubs here. It's like 2 yellow, 2 black, 2 red, 2 blue, 2 orange, 2 green. We've got doubled up on the blues and the reds also, because those are what we sell a little bit more of. We don't need that many yellows because they just produce so many without really having any culls. But these are the ones where we're not too concerned about like quality and stuff like that. These are like the backups. So when we have to come out, or for really large orders or something like that, we'll go through here and we'll pick them out of these guys. We really have to have a lot of shrimp in these tubs though to really start working in them. They're not as easy or low to work in and to catch all the shrimp. So we feed them in the corners. And what we try to do is lure them all out, and then when there's a big herd or a big colony, we kind of shuffle the net across and we catch what we need for those orders. These tubs are also like really great for when we have to go and do shows and stuff like that. So for more personal customer orders, we'll catch them out of the greenhouse. And then these are basically where we got to catch 1,000 shrimp in one day. We'll come out to these because they're usually pretty packed with shrimp when we need them.
So how many of these tubs do you have?
So all together, we have about 60 tubs. I've got 30 of them on the other side of the house that aren't being used at all right now. I've got a couple of them that are already cut, and then we use them for guppy ponds and like guppy grass grow out and stuff like that. But they're pretty cheap. They could hold up to 250 to, I have some 330 gallon ones on the side, but we don't fill them up that high. We fill them about 170 gallons because the pump that we have, it's not a deep water pump. And so the actual height that it can pump water to is around 3 to 4 feet, but the more 4-foot deep pumps that you have, the more pressure that's being taken off of the actual system. So right here at this water height is what we find like the most efficient for us, so we could keep adding on more tubs if we wanted to, and we're not kind of maxed out right here.
So yeah, so your blower doesn't have to work as hard,
Yeah.
and you don't have to get up to your, you know, to get your head in the water just to get the shrimp. You can reach the bottom easier, right?
And we like to use these longer nets.
Yeah.
And both me and Shelby, we're pretty tall, so we've got long arms. We're able to get to the back of the tubs if we have to. But yeah, it's a lot more convenient in the greenhouse, of course, but these tubs get it done. And because there's only a little bit cut out of it, we don't have to keep it that covered. So we have the basically shade cloth is usually pulled all the way over, and we don't need to shade the tubs as much as we need to keep the dragonflies out. So that's pretty much the only issue that we have.
Dragonfly larvae will eat all your shrimp, huh?
Eat all your shrimp, eat all your fish babies. They're pretty vicious suckers. So I'm not a big fan of dragonflies.
So you need to produce a lot because you don't sell any imported shrimp, right? Everything you sell, you've bred here, right?
Correct.
So outdoors, you have an advantage because you got the sunlight, more stuff grows that the shrimp eat. So doing it like this, when you set up a new colony, how many shrimp do you start with, and how, in 3 months, how many can they produce?
So for me, I would like to start with a really nice colony at first rather than a really big colony. So like I'll start a tank with 25. I'll have maybe like 22 of my best females that I can select, and then only 3 males. You really only need 2 or 1 male, but if something happens to your one and only stud, who else is going to take their place if you don't have some backup in there? So I keep the 3 best males generally in all my aquariums, And then the females, some of them can kind of slack as long as the male's really nice. If you don't have enough really nice females, I'll keep extra ugly ones in there just to get the colonies up at first. But when it comes to the Neocaridina outside, it's got to be really nice, solid, strong female, real nice, solid, strong male. And then from there, the numbers, each female will produce about 30 to 40 young every 20 to 35 days out here during the summertime. In the wintertime, it's a lot less than that. But then from there, one of those babies can grow up in 2 months and start having their own young. So a baby after 3 months can have her own babies. So it's pretty good turnover rate. With the new baby of our own, I've kind of been lacking sleep, so I don't want to try to do those math numbers in my head right now, but we started with about 25 black rose one winter, and then by the end of the year, we had easily sold 2,000 to 3,000 black rose from that one single tub alone, and had plenty to go into the winter for the next year's breeding season.
And how do you compare that to the kind of production you can get indoors in an aquarium like a typical hobbyist?
So out indoors, I'm getting maybe a batch of babies every 35 days to 40 days. So it's like I get it like 1/3 quicker turnover rate with them being outside. But then on top of that, they also grow faster. So inside, a female might not be ready for 4 months. So outdoors, they're ready in 3 months. So it's a whole extra month less waiting time that I have to wait for the females to be ready and start producing their own young. So again, that's extra math. I need some algebra equations to figure these ones out.
We get the point though. Out here, they grow faster, and so the turnover is better. And they seem to be larger. So do they have, that's true, right? They're getting bigger.
So I think that they have access to more food at all times because the biofilm's growing from the sun.
And probably better food because it's natural, it's probably more complete maybe, I don't know.
And then on top of that, they're also getting a larger volume of water. So there's more room to grow. I find personally as a breeder, if I try to breed shrimp in a tank smaller than 10 gallons, the shrimp never fully get to that 1 inch mark. They'll get about 3/4 of an inch. The babies will take even slower to grow up to that rate, like 4 to 5 months rather than 3 to 4 months. And overall, they're just not producing as much babies as they do in the larger volume tanks.
How big do they grow out here?
On average, about 1 inch. With the ones that don't have the back lines, for whatever reason, the Neocaridina that do have the back line, that variety of wild type shrimp, they just get a little bit bigger. So they do get up to 1.5 inches, but honestly, like maybe 2 or 3 out of 1,000 will get to that size. Those are the monsters we enter in the competition. They're not available.
And so if they're growing bigger out here, do they have larger clutches?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
And they're also able to hold on to their clutches too. So a lot of shrimp will drop a few eggs here and there if they're not very good mothers. But if they're bigger, they've got bigger swimmerettes to carry pretty much the same size eggs.
Yeah, so the advantage of being in Florida is you can do this outdoors. Most of the year it's warm enough you get decent production.
Not a lot of evaporation.
Yeah,
I'm growing plants out here without coverage, so yeah, I don't really top off the tanks. We get enough rain that they kind of stay at the level until I do my water change.
And they grow quicker, grow bigger, and probably produce more offspring.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so here we are in a greenhouse where Grant breeds a ton of Neocaridina species. So let's look at some of this. So why do you have I guess you're in Florida, you can put stuff outside. Like, what an advantage, right?
Yeah, so for us, outside in the summertime, it gets about 80 to 90 degrees in these tub temperatures. The shrimp will breed faster, the babies will grow a little bit quicker, and so overall we get more production out of it. During the winter time, we can get down into like the 30s and 40s, and that's when the shrimp kind of slow down. You don't get as much breeding. The shrimp take way longer to get of size that you can sell them. However, I don't need to pay for heaters or anything like that, and they can kind of overwinter just fine. But in these large volumes of water, it's really easy for me to do water changes and take care of massive amounts of shrimp during the summer times. And we get a good amount of breeding still in the spring and fall as well. It's just really December, January, and February, they kind of slow down. So there's not much really to sell out of the tubs there, but like 25 shrimp in this tub right here in December, and we had probably sold 3,000 of them by the end of the following year. So you can really get a lot of production from the tubs outside before they kind of slow down before the next winter.
What's the secret? Is it the sun and the algae and just good stuff that grows naturally, or?
Yeah, overall it is biofilm that the shrimp are eating, so we don't have to feed these shrimp nearly as much as we do the shrimp inside to keep them happy and growing. There's also a bunch of bugs and stuff that fall into it every now and then, like a lizard, and they get the snack on that, and that's extra protein and whatnot. And then the sun on top of it, their color, it's pigment. And pretty much just like when we go outside, we go out in the sun for too long, our skin kind of darkens up. The same thing will happen to the shrimp. If you keep no light on your shrimp tank, a lot of times the shrimp are going to lose a lot of color. But if you've got a nice high light and you kind of can stay away from that little line where it's too much light and you're getting algae issues, the shrimp will kind of have that nice tan or nice coat on them.
Yeah, okay, so they tan and produce more pigment just like you and I would, but for them it's like yellow and red and beautiful colors.
And fish will do that too. That's a big reason why the cichlids look so good in the ponds down in the Florida fish farms and stuff like that. It's because they got that full sun all day. And
I noticed some monsters in there, like these are big.
Yeah, so I can turn off the air supply for this one. We've got a 1/3 horsepower blower that powers a closed loop air system all the way around my backyard. So I'm able to cut the air supply here. Probably the easiest ones to see from above are going to be the yellow ones. So there's not a lot of females and large shrimp that are out right now because they're kind of dormant. The water is a little bit, like probably 20 degrees cooler than it was like 4 months ago.
Yeah.
And then like as soon as we get a nice really hot week and a lot of sunny days, all of the shrimp will kind of go along the sides of the walls of the IBC totes and kind of get their tan on and sunbathe.
So you're in Florida. Does it ever get so hot in here that you have to bring them in? Like what temperatures can they tolerate? How warm does it get?
So we had one of the barrels, not a blue one, but one of the black ones here. And we had some orange neocaridina, and I recorded temperatures in that tub into 93 degrees, and the shrimp are just fine. I've never had any of the temperatures get above that other than like the small black muck buckets. And we had some red cherries in there, and they did just fine in the triple digits even. But I don't think there is too hot of a temperature or too cold of a temperature, as long as they don't turn into a solid block of ice, right? And as long as they don't go too fast, as long as it's a gradual, natural change. I mean, we have some pretty bad cold fronts and stuff like that, but with the massive volume of water, it takes so long for that water to actually drop down to a temperature that it's going to shock them and be a problem.
Oh, interesting. And that's the total opposite of caridina, right?
So I'm not quite sure exactly how extreme we could do the caridina shrimp to the cold temperatures, but for the hot temperatures, they can survive warmer temperatures just fine. But the problem comes with messing with their substrate and bacterial or fungal issues. If it is warmer, they're a lot prone to that. So the risk factor for them being outside is a lot higher, and they are a lot nicer of a shrimp. They sell for a little bit more, so it's worth keeping them inside, paying for that AC bill, and just keeping them at that like hospital temperature kind of quality controls to prevent illness from spreading.
So I see here that you've got like this nice easy way to do the water changes. So go ahead and show us how you do that.
So for the shrimp, they're really tiny, especially the babies, right? So we have to have this stainless steel mesh guard. I like to find the ones that have these like rubber grommets around them. The ones that are like full steel and full metal will tend to rust. So these ones last a really long time. Even if you can't find one that's the right size for your hose, I use like a little bit of electrical tape, so that way it makes it the right size. And I try to cone it so this side is smaller than that side, so it just kind of slides on there and it's nice and snug on the end.
What's that made for? Is that a piece of hardware for a sink, or?
So I actually bought this from Doobie's Aquarium World. They're a vendor at a lot of the shows, and every time he's there, I go up to him and I say, how many of these do you got? Let me buy them all, because it's only like $2 a piece or something like that. So if you step on one, or if something happens to it,
all
or you
right, so
can't
to get
find
one
it,
of these,
you gotta
go
beat
to
me
Doobie's
to it.
Aquarium World and beat Grant.
Yeah.
There you go, Doobie. You're gonna sell out. Bring extra.
And then this is just like an old aquarium hose from like a Python or the Aqueon water change hoses. I highly recommend going to a West Marine, and you can get a marine grade hose, and it doesn't kink and bend and get weather damage as much. This is in the shaded greenhouse, so I'm not too worried about it, and it's like the backup. We've replaced this one 3 or 4 times for it to make it out here. So these all get their own designated hose. These are our old ponds, and they don't look like they have any algae in them right now because we threw in a ton of rabbit snails last spring. So they did their job. They ate back on the Cladophora and held it back, so it looks really good throughout the winter time. But I know these tubs 100% don't have any Cladophora. Well, I should say 99%, because it's Florida. We got a lot of frogs. Every time it rains, there's a frog party out here, and I know some of the frogs be doing their thing over here and then come over here and vice versa. So hopefully not too much of the Cladophora gets spread. We do the water changes and keep the ponds as clean as we can, so that way the algae doesn't really have a chance to thrive. These also had rabbit snails in them all year, so if a little bit did start to grow, they get taken care of. But I do start my cleanest tubs first, and then I finish off on my older tubs that I know have an algae issue, so that way I don't have to clean the hose more than one time. When I'm done with my worst pond out here, I'll go ahead, and I've got some rubbing alcohol, 91% isopropyl, and you just completely soak the hose. I've got a little clamp that I use to clamp it onto the sides, and I'll clean this as well, just in case any of the water gets splashed on that. You let it dry for 15 minutes, hit it with some tap water to rinse it off, and then it's good to go from pond to pond to pond. And then again, the best pond to the worst pond. And then when they're all done draining, I will do like a 40 to 50% water change on all the tubs out here. I've got the sponge filters that are rated for over 170 to 250 gallons. This is one of the smaller ones. Most of them have a bigger one, but this is good for the amount of water that's in these IBC totes. And I want to make sure I never drain the water lower than those sponges.
Right.
So as long as those sponges are wet, I can go pretty much 50 to 60% water change on here. And then when I'm ready to fill up the ponds, this row is done. So I can go all the way down the side of the house here, and each one has its own little spigot, so I can fill up the water. I don't have the water pressure on right now, but I can adjust them all so they all fill up a little bit. And then I use a little bit of Prime, or I've recently been using the Fritz Complete just to take out the chlorine. And that's about it for my water changes.
And
I don't
so
fill
you
them
can
up
do
super
like a
fast.
50% water change, and you can go ahead and use tap water refill if you do it slow and put the chemicals in before you fill. Is that what you find?
I put the cap and a half of the Prime to work for that amount of water, and then I just fill it up. And while I'm out here, I'll probably like go through the garden and weed some of the plants in the plant bins, or water some of them. And then as they're full, I'll come by and turn them off. And before I had not automated, but the water station for each pond, it'd take me like 3 days out here, because I'd have to move the hose to each one, and I can't blast the hose full speed. So now I've gotten it down to where I can do all these ponds in about a half a day. So it's a lot more efficient now.
So what types of shrimp do you have out here?
So all of my Neocaridina are out here. And I should say Shelby's Neocaridina, because for like the last 2 years, she's been the main one out here catching them and doing all of the orders and filling them out and quality control and stuff like that. We've got yellow 24 carats, black rose, we've got blue dreams, the red cherries are the fire red cherries. We got green jades, green emeralds, snowballs. We got some blue velvets out here, and then the ocean blues are out here as well. And we keep them all separated, because if they do cross, they end up making wild variants, and the wilds are not very sought out for. You go from a $6 shrimp and a $3 shrimp, cross them together, and if you're lucky, you get $1 for a wild shrimp these days. So even though I did buy some wild shrimp that were caught out of a ditch in Florida today for well over that amount, They're interesting. I want to see what the babies turn out and if they survive full fresh and whatnot. They kind of look like a Neocaridina. Chances are they were just like somebody ditched them in a ditch and they survived and they grew out and probably had multiple colors to revert back to wild. But they're nice and beefy and chunky, look kind of bluish in color. So we'll see what they are. But for the most part, we keep them all separated. We've got a different net for each one. When we go through and we catch orders, I'll take the net or Shelby will take the net, catch as many shrimp as we can. All the like 1 centimeter size one will go into cups for orders. All the ugly ones, if they don't go into like a cull package or something like that, we'll throw them into this designated cull barrel. And if it's in the net and it's an ugly shrimp, it never goes back into the main breeding pond. We'll throw it into the cull tub, and this is how we keep up on quality. And you can see we've got some pretty big nets, so we catch as many shrimp as we can. We'll lure them all into this one corner here with some food. It'll kind of bring out the majority of the colony. You can kind of shuffle across the top of the substrate, catch a bunch of them that way, and then we'll kind of like tornado around the side of the tubs to catch as many as we can and keep up on quality that way. And for the most part, the cull percentage in a lot of the colonies is already low because we started with our own stock that I knew produced low amounts of culls in the first place.
Yeah, cool. So instead of like having to go through the colony and pick out a few good ones and start a new tank with a new colony to keep the line up, you're at the point where you can just cull as you pull and keep the quality going, so you can just gradually do it.
Yeah, and if there's ever a pond that the cull rate kind of got out of control, we could always reset it and start with the best of the best and do it that way if we have to. But I honestly haven't had to do that, and what I'm actually thinking about doing is with these 4 tubs, if you look at them, there's a good layer of broken down substrate and mulm and everything like that. And I think I'd rather go to a cleaner system and just siphon it all out and then put all the shrimp back in it afterwards. And I'll make some type of like net catch bucket system to where the water can flow into a net and then the bottom chamber can flow out all the dirty water. So
now, is that for your convenience, or have you found that if you get too much mulm and stuff going that it starts affecting the shrimp's health? Or
it's kind of both. I'm not a big fan of mulm. I find that a lot of our tanks that have algae issues have the mulm build up really bad. So by these tanks already having an algae issue with the rabbit snails, maybe hitting them with some corrosive peroxide for a night before I throw the shrimp in there, I can maybe get ahead of any of the Cladophora problems. But then the biggest thing for us though is when you take the net and you go across the bottom and you get enough sludge in the net, it's really hard to catch the shrimp, because if it's a real
they're
clean,
all buried in the sludge.
Yeah, if it's a real clean environment, it's really easy. On these tubs, I didn't even put substrate in them yet. I do have enough samurai soil that I can throw it in here and it's completely inert. It won't break down or anything like that, and it'll show the shrimp really nicely still. But for now, it's so easy to just grab as many shrimp as we can in one swoop, and then in the net, you hold the net with one hand, and your other hand, you're able to just roll your finger, and the smaller shrimp just stick to your finger. So the bigger ones, the ones that you want for your breeders, they kind of bounce right off, but all the other ones kind of stick to your finger. You count how many you have on your finger, you go up to the catch cup, and you just dip them in the cup, and then you go for another roll until you have as many shrimp as you need.
Rolling shrimp.
So it's actually quite efficient and a lot easier to catch shrimp, I think, than it is to catch fish.
So you've mentioned a couple times algae and Cladophora. Are those bad for the shrimp, or does it just make it difficult for you to work in the tanks and pull them?
It depends on what side of the fight you're on, Dan. This is where it gets serious.
There's a fight? I didn't realize I was doing anything controversial.
who thrive in the ways of the algae, and then there's those who are like myself, who are constantly trying to battle it and figure out new ways and safer ways to combat it and get rid of it.
So you don't like it. Is that because of the health of the shrimp, or because it makes your job really difficult to catch them and all that, care for them?
Some would say I have a very compliant spouse and that she puts up with way more than she should. A lot of people, though, they know she's the problem. But at the same time, I don't think I would be allowed to have so many of my own breeding aquariums if they were an algae disaster and it was a mess and the house when you do water changes in an algae tank, you smell it, especially cyanobacteria. That's not an algae, but it's treated like one in the hobby. But you can smell the algae, and it's just not a good look overall. But for us outside, the Cladophora, it'll get so out of control, and the hair algae or whatever it is, it's in the way, it gets in the net, then you got to pull that out, and you don't want customers to get it either. So it's way easier not to have it, in my opinion.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like you don't want to infect a customer's tank. That's a good point.
There's definitely situations where algae isn't the worst thing, but I would prefer not to have Cladophora, and to me, Cladophora is the worst one. It's not an algae, it's more of a mixture of a plant, a fungus, and an algae, and when it dies off, it spores, and if you have bubblers, it can go into the air, into other ponds, and it's really hard one to get ahead of. And for me, the only way I've been able to take care of it is this product called Razor from Brightwell. It's a liquid dosing. It's not an actual razor that you use to shave with or anything like that, but it's a flocculant, and it bonds to the shrimp, and it actually will starve out the shrimp and they die. So it's not something that I can do in these ponds, but Dr. Anthony Mazerall put me onto the rabbit snails, and they pretty much 3 or 5 of them in each pond did a really good job at taking care of it.
That's all it took, 3 to 5?
But they also multiplied, and I pulled out, I put maybe 25 of them into these tubs right here, and I pulled out maybe 90 to 100, I can't remember the exact number, out of it by the end. And all the ones I put in that were like that small did grow like a whole inch, and I never get that kind of growth from them inside. I just think it was all the edible food that they had out here.
Cool. Well, let's go look at the other IBC totes that you have set up real briefly with the rest of the Neocaridina's.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the outro here, I thought what I would do is ask Grant, what are the top 2 or 3 things you think someone that's just starting out with shrimp needs to know to get their feet wet?
So the main thing for me is consistency. So get yourself into a routine, figure out what your water parameters are, get your water changes to where the water that you're changing matches up the water that is already in the tank, so they're the same temperature, there's the same total dissolved solids, and that you're only replacing cleanness with the dirty water, and everything else kind of matches up. And if you can maintain those parameters and keep up on top of that, you'll have as much success as possible. So keep it simple. Don't go out there and buy a bunch of different products. You only really need a little bit of dechlorinator, substrate, filter, tank, water out of the tap, and 90% of America is going to be fine. If not, you got to add a little bit of minerals into the water to raise up those GH levels. But other than that, good little amount of food, different varieties, and you don't really need much else. There's a lot of like snake oil products out there on the market, and you don't need to waste your money on that. I did it already.
Yeah, so you don't have to. KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Yeah. How about once someone's done some of the beginning shrimp and stuff and now wants to get into some of the caridinas or something where they have to pay a little more attention? How do you make that as easy as possible?
So you got to get familiar with an RO system. So you really can't do it easily without it. You need the RO water, you need the
and we're talking about
aqua soil.
Caridina, not Neo-Caridina.
Yeah, with the Caridina. So that's the next big step up. You've already gotten started with the Neos. You're already comfortable with it. You already know how to take care of shrimp. You just don't know how to take care of water yet. So once you figure out how to prep water for the Caridina, everything's the same. And it's just as simple, other than the fact that I got to take the RO filters out and swap them out once in a while. I've got to remineralize and add salts, which does cost a little bit more money, but a lot of the Caridina shrimp are way more money, worth more than the Neo-Caridina. So when you're looking at it from like a seller's aspect, you're going to get that return back and then some. In the long run, you'll make more money.
Yeah, okay. So worth the investment because the shrimp themselves are a little pricier.
Yeah, especially when you're inside in a little space. Outside, different situation. You can definitely make way more money in a pond doing Neo-Caridina on a larger scale. But if you just got a couple tanks and a rack and dedicated in the basement or something like that, Caridina shrimp are definitely a route that you can go and diversify your portfolio a little bit. I don't think I'd be where I'm at today if I didn't have that variety. When Facebook came and made the against the rules to sell live animals on Facebook, a lot of us, I think, kind of suffered for a while, but then we as a community are like, where can we buy fish? And I was like just a safe person to recommend because I had so many different varieties. So this guy could go, well, hey, go check with Grant. He's got almost everything. If he don't have it, he might know who does have it. And it's a pretty good community, and we like to recommend one another out there. And there's plenty of room for more homebred shrimp in the United States.
Yeah, cool. Well, dude, I need 3 more days, but thanks for taking the time. I learned a ton today.
Yeah, I said even if you're remotely interested in shrimp, you could easily spend 2 days just here. But I got other fish rooms to take you to, and there's fish in those ones. But they're I know for a fact there's shrimp in both of them too.
Cool.
So there'll be more shrimp.
Cool. Anyway, thanks for joining us, folks. Till next time, I hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.
See you guys.